Hello. Welcome to my channel. I am Sabrina. This is my channel. Today I'm going to show you guys how to find your gauge. So gauge was something that was really hard for me to figure out when I was first learning how to knit. I would literally just knit just panels and then be like, all right, another project done. But I started wanting to follow patterns, and then I'd see the gauge and be like, I don't know what this means. So I finally took the time to get it, and this is how I figured out, mainly specifically for when I'm designing my own projects, my own patterns. So I'm going to teach you guys how to do that. So here's everything that you're going to need to be able to find your gauge. First up, your yarn. This is an absolute mess, but this is the yarn I'm going to use. And then you need your knitting needles. I'm going to use these. These are not the right size for this, but it doesn't matter. You can still knit with anything and you can still find your gauge. So these are size US 15s or 10 millimeters. You're going to need scissors to be able to cut your yarn, a pen and paper, and then a little tape measure. This is mine, it's really cute. I got it at Joann's. Then it goes, oh, that wasn't very satisfying. Why isn't it going all the way? It usually does. There it goes. So you're gonna start off by knitting a swatch. I usually like to do like 15 to 20 stitches. I think I'm going to do 15 just to get this swatch out of the way quicker. So I'm going to leave a good size amount of tail. I'm going to long tail cast on 4, 5, 6. Let's just go for 20. 19, 20. And for simplicity's sake, and because it's easier to see the stitches, at least for me on with stockinette stitch, I'm going to knit this up till it looks a little bit like a square in stockinette. Look how much it's stretched out. So it's gonna be really holy, and that's okay. This is just an example, and your yarn usually tells you what size needle works best with the yarn size, but I usually don't like to follow it. I usually knit with what I want. So like if I want a garment to be a little bit more flowy, then I use smaller yarn, bigger needles. But obviously if you're following an already made pattern, then you do need to use or try to get the same gauge, because that pattern is being made and you want it to look like that. Okay, so this is how far I've gotten so far, but I'm gonna have to stop for a second and come back because my dog has a grooming appointment and it's at 2 and it's 1:40, and it takes me 15 minutes to get there, so I have to go. So I'll be right back in like 30 minutes tops, but it'll literally feel like a few seconds for you. But I'll be back, I'll finish the swatch, and I'll finish explaining how to find gauge. Are you ready to go, baby? Ready to go? Personally, I feel like this is good enough. So I'm going to go ahead and cast off, and I'm just gonna do the regular cast off method where you like knit one and then, yeah, I'll link a video on how to cast off too. And here we have our swatch. So now that you have your swatch, you're going to need your tape measure, and you can do it 2 different ways, and I feel like it comes in handy for a swatch that's smaller like this one. Also it's like ribbed and stretchy, I would probably just kind of stretch it out, measure the length from end to end, and remember how many I casted on. I casted on 25 stitches, so I would write down 25 stitches equals, let's say it's 2 inches, which is, this is clearly not 2 inches, but you get the deal. Or you can take your bigger swatch and you can limit it to 4 inches. So if I go, oh my goodness. So if I measure from side to side and only count the stitches between the first 4 inches. So really I would want to make sure that the 0 starts in the middle. Try to kind of make it as centered as possible and like measure it that way. And then you're gonna count every single stitch within those. And if you don't know what a stitch is, one stitch is going to look like one of these upside down V's. So this is one stitch and there's like this little hole, right? That is one stitch. You're gonna lay your swatch down flat. You're going to measure out 4 inches and you're going to count every single little upside down V within those 4 inches. So here I'm just laying it down flat on my leg and I'm going to make sure that I count every single stitch. So I have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Here we are. Hi. So I counted 11 stitches in my 4 inches. So I'm going to write down 4 inches equals 11 stitches. Next, let's say I want to make a shirt that's fitted. I'm going to measure around my chest. Come over here. And take my measurement. I'm getting 32 inches. So I wrote down 4 inches equals 11 stitches, 32 inches equals X. X is how many stitches we need with our gauge in mind to find, what did I just say? X means how many stitches we need with our gauge in mind to get to 32 inches. So the equation to that would be 4 inches over 11 stitches is equal to 32 inches over X. And I know what you're thinking. God damn it, I don't want to do math. I'm so sorry. You chose this hobby. That's all I can say. So you're going to multiply across. You're going to multiply across like that, and then you're going to get the equation 11 times 32 equals 4x, because you're multiplying across. I need my iPad. I can't do math like that. I definitely lost all sorts of mental mathematical ability after I graduated high school. So 11 times 32 equals 352. So I'm going to write that down. 352 equals 4x. And so now how do you isolate the x? You divide by 4 on both sides. Middle school algebra. So then now you do 342 divided by 4. And oh, it's an even number. You get 88 equals x. If you don't believe me, here you go. In order for my garment to be 32 inches wide, I need to cast on 88 stitches. So now what you can do is figure out how you want to construct this top. Are you knitting it in the round? These are round needles. Or are you knitting it with regular knitting needles? If you knit it with regular knitting needles, that means you're going to be knitting 2 different panels. And so how you would find out how many stitches to cast on to do a front and a back, you would just divide that by 2 and cast on evenly. So 88 divided by 2 is 44. I feel like I should have known that. So I would cast on 44 stitches for the front panel and 44 stitches for the back panel. And then try it on as I go, so that way I know how long to make it. I hope this video was helpful. I hope you understand how to find your gauge a little bit more, because unfortunately, knitting swatches is boring, but it's kind of important if you want to get better at knitting. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you made it to the end, comment like a little, if you like this video, a little thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe for more videos like this, and I will see you next time. Bye. Dab me up.